Tony Stewart is still mad at NASCAR. Old Smoke hasn't gotten over his anger and maybe even found his new hobby he was looking for. So we're going to talk about that and much, much more in the world of motorsport in this video. But first, if you have not yet subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Takes you literally 1 second. And if you like my content, you're letting YouTube know you want to see more of it. So I really appreciate it if you guys subscribe. And while you're down there, leave a like and a comment. So let's talk a few things to get started. We're going to start in the virtual world. And I have been, over the past few months, tracking the progress of Automobilista 2, which is a racing simulator out of Brazil. But one of the big things in this game is the fact that it has classic Indy cars, particularly kart cars from 1995, 1998, and 2000. And the most exciting addition in the next upcoming update is that they are going to be adding the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And despite teasing modern Indy cars are not coming, at least in the foreseeable future. There's a bit of a debate as to why. I think it's quite simple, especially since the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is being added to the game. You got to remember that Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar are, while under the same parent company, separate but equal. There could be something that IMS wants to be involved in that IndyCar does not, and those various entities can make those decisions on their own. So it's not really surprising to me to see Indianapolis Motor Speedway jumping on board with a video game, while perhaps IndyCar is more conservative on that. A couple of other news and notes on this is that they've changed the oval racing. I haven't quite gotten to experience it on the proper tracks yet, but at least looking at this racing at Daytona, which isn't a great indication, the style of racing is much more realistic. So I'm looking forward, when the update actually drops, to seeing what Fontana and Indianapolis look like with the Indy cars. Le Mans, Ferrari finally officially unveiled their Le Mans Challenger. They have named it the 499P, and it ran some demonstration laps in front of the cameras at the Imola circuit. And I have to say, it looks good in red. This car will compete in the World Endurance Championship in the 2023 season, and of course, that includes the 100th anniversary running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This car is eligible for IMSA competition, and Racing Competizione, who currently runs GT cars in IMSA, has been open to running it in the States, but that won't happen at least until 2024, so stay tuned. Let's talk a little bit of McLaren drama, because we haven't had enough of that. Yesterday, NTT Data announced something you heard first here several weeks ago, that they are leaving Chip Ganassi Racing. And the icing on the cake is that today they announced they have joined Arrow McLaren SP as a primary sponsor for that team. They will appear most prominently on Felix Rosenquist's number 6 car throughout the year, but will also be the primary sponsor on the 4th Indy 500 entry for Arrow McLaren SP. The driver, announced today, is Tony Kanaan. All right, so for those of you who need things spelled out for you, this is the situation, because one of the things that we've questioned ever since this Alex Palou drama started, which apparently involves a lot more parties between Chip Ganassi Racing and Arrow McLaren SP than we could have ever possibly imagined. It would appear that one of the driving factors behind this drama was NTT Data, because they not only wanted to leave Chip Ganassi Racing, but they wanted to leave with Alex Palou. That, of course, did not happen, and Alex Palou is locked in with Chip Ganassi for an additional year. Now, if you're expecting me to decry NTT Data for doing this, I mean, how could a title sponsor cause this kind of drama? I'm not going to say that. I'm in fact going to pat NTT on the back, because this is the best thing a title sponsor has done for IndyCar since IZOD. Name anything promotional that Verizon did that had any kind of an impact. I'm waiting. NTT, you know what? At the very least, they may be a huge B2B company. They don't care how many people show up to the races, but I'll give them this. They did more to promote Alex Palou and make him a household name than most other sponsors could ever possibly do. Now, the methodology, maybe not so great, but it's amazing, unbelievable situation here. And then we start talking about McLaren. So no wonder Chip's mad at Zach Brown, because he's not just stealing championship drivers from him. He's not just stealing Indy 500 winning drivers from him, but he's stealing major title sponsorship from his team. Very, very interesting. And I use stealing not necessarily in the literal sense. It's more of a business sense. But you could see why Chip Ganassi doesn't really like Zach Brown and vice versa on Zach Brown's side, because you have to be petty to be causing this sort of drama. And I have to say, I think the choice of Tony Kanaan to drive the fourth Aero McLaren SP car is a good one. Am I disappointed that it's not Kyle Busch? Yes. Am I disappointed that it's not Kyle Larson? Yes. Do I think that do I think it's a major fumble if neither of those drivers are in the Indy 500 next year, or at least on the entry list? Absolutely. I think IndyCar should really, really, really lean on somebody to try to get one of those deals done. I'm just saying. But from a selfish perspective with Aero McLaren SP, getting Tony Kanaan is the smartest play for them. If you think about this, now really think about this. Yeah, sure, Marcus Ericsson won the Indy 500 last year. But with 4 drivers on their roster for next year, they made up the next 4 finishing positions in the Indy 500 last year. Felix Rosenqvist, Pato O'Ward, Tony Kanaan, Alexander Rossi. Not necessarily in that order, but they have got probably the best shot going in. They're kind of doing what Ganassi did last year, is kind of put together a super team and really throw the kitchen sink at it. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And the fact that Tony Kanaan finished 3rd last year and was charging at the end of the race, maybe not as great of a charge as Marcus Ericsson had, but to deny what Tony Kanaan's able to do every single year on a one-race deal, as it turns out that he's getting these days, is what is stopping Tony Kanaan from winning the race from Aero McLaren SP's perspective? Nothing. And if nothing else, he's going to get the benefit of working with Pato and Felix and Rossi, 3 drivers. Rossi's already proved that he can win the race. Pato very nearly did it. And I think Felix had the best strategy last year out of any of them. And in any other year, I think Felix probably would have cycled to the front and stay there. So you got all these drivers who can win the Indy 500 on one team, a team that has clearly proven that they have the speed to at least knock on the door of competing with Chip Ganassi Racing at the Indianapolis 500. So I think it's going to be a very interesting next couple of years to see where that goes. And in particular, this drama has been just scintillating to watch. And I have a suspicion that's going to continue into next year and somehow. Okay, we know that Tony Stewart is mad at NASCAR and looking for a new hobby. Well, he found it, and it's behind the wheel of a top alcohol dragster in the NHRA. Tony made his debut this weekend at Las Vegas, and he got all the way to the final round of eliminations, where by less than the blink of a human eye lost the title to Madison Payne, who scored her first victory in the top alcohol class, beating out Tony Stewart, obviously, for what would have been his first victory in top alcohol. But perhaps the most interesting thing was that Tony Stewart finally got his hot mic after NASCAR told him that he could not give the command to start engines at Homestead, Miami. Here's what Smoke had to say about his new drag racing hobby.
They've got a very fast race car, so we're all doing our part. We're all doing it as a team, and I have had more fun this weekend than I have had in a long time. Definitely not anywhere that has fenders on it, so I'm loving this sport.
And so the drama continues. And I need to keep saying this because I'm pretty sure we're going to get that announcement at some point in the near future. Probably after Harvick leaves or announces that he's going to leave, which would likely, as we know, according to Gene Haas, be at the end of next year. That I think Tony Stewart may be well done with NASCAR. And a lot of people are going to say one of two things to that point. Is that, well, NASCAR doesn't need Tony Stewart. Wrong. Look at that dragster and look at all those sponsors and do the math and say how many of those sponsors are affiliated with Tony's NASCAR team. and then think about what would happen if Tony left his NASCAR team. Would the sponsors stay? Maybe. Maybe not. And here's the deal, guys. If Tony Stewart does leave NASCAR, that is going to be one of the biggest stories ever. And I feel like he's not barking anymore. I kind of thought when he started this, I'm like, okay, he's barking. It's not going to mean anything. No, I think he actually means it this time. And it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of months to see where Tony is and where Tony isn't. So thank you guys so much for watching this. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I will see you in the next video.